My name is Kinnear. I'm the Managing Director and Director of Sales for Hubspo in EMEA. It's my pleasure to speak to you today. So today we're talking about account-based selling, something that regardless of which industry you're in, the size and shape of your company or your customers' companies, something that's of interest across the board for every sales professional globally. Now, typically your first port of call for account-based selling is understanding who is based in your account, who the contacts, what role they have, what they've done so far, any challenges and issues they might have, and how they've started to understand those problems. But now let's talk about account-based selling in more general terms. So here's a question. You're speaking with accounts, you're speaking with prospects and speaking with potential clients all of the time. And one thing that seems evident to you is they've got some issues. They've got problems, challenges, things that are not working well in their account. Now it seems very obvious to you, and whatever your product, solution, service, whatever your offering is, from your seat, this seems really obvious to you. The question is, why does your account prospect not see the same issues? It's pretty simple, right? The problem for your client and prospect is they're running their business. They have an industry, they've got something that they're driving for themselves that's key to their own business success. They don't have the lens that you have to look through. So your experience and your role puts you in a unique position to be able to really understand through a very prescriptive lens of what those issues might be. Now here's another topic. The individuals in that account all have different priorities. And again, regardless if it's a 2 or 200 or 2,000 people company, those individuals are all focusing on something specific to themselves, something that they are targeted with delivering, issues they're solving, challenges, opportunities, lots of things that fills their day in how they're trying to get the job done for their business. So why don't they understand the connection between all the different moving parts in their own company? Well, let me ask you this. What's the connection between somebody opening an email and expanding their business into, say, China? Those are two totally different, seemingly unconnected or disconnected items. And the problem is we've got connections in every business between executing operational topics and bigger strategic challenges that the business faces. And again, maybe your company or your client's company is not expanding into China, but you get the point. There's always bigger strategic objectives you want to achieve, and balancing that with executing a lot of the day-to-day tactical operational topics that need to get done. So here's the essence of what we'll talk about today. When you're account-based selling, one of the things that you can add tremendous value to your client or customer prospect is helping them understand the connections within their own business. And we think of this in 3 different levels, as you'll see on this slide. At the very front level, the very manifested front-end pain that appears in an account is typically where an end user or frontline person sees the problems occurring. I'm not able to do something, I'm challenged, I'm blocked, I'm stopped from executing my day-to-day tasks. Those things for a marketer or sales professional can be finding good data, sending emails, getting through to my clients, whatever those end outcomes you're trying to achieve, those are really difficult. And everybody gets challenged by those executional end products. As you approach an account, one of the things that we're quite good at as sales professionals is saying, tell me what the pain is. Tell me how that manifests. How do you see the problems? How do you see issues today? And you'll speak to an end user of product service that you're proposing, and they'll say, absolutely yes, I have a problem that you're familiar with. This end manifested pain, it's clear to see, and I can describe and talk about this. Now the problem is sometimes we take those manifested frontline pains at the bottom level of our account tier and we take those straight to the decision maker, who's typically C-suite or a director level owner, whoever the most senior person who's going to make a decision is. And often their answer, either to you or privately to their colleague, is, that's not my problem. The fact that your email is not so good, the fact that your data isn't particularly good, that's your problem. You're the end executor. You go sort it out and solve it yourself. So what they need from you is, as a sales professional, is help them map the connection between those different parts of the account. So above this front manifested pain level, the key questions are, I understand you're seeing this pain and you have this manifested pain, but what's the consequence? These so what questions. Because this happens, who cares in your line of business? And very often that quickly leads to the person I report to cares a lot. And the reason they care is because they're not able to get something done on their agenda. So let's talk about a manifested pain example. I have a bad set of data. I'm not able to contact customers. I'm not able to reach out to my prospects. Who cares? Well, my sales director. And the reason my sales director cares is they have a big sales number they're looking to achieve. So suddenly that connection is very simple between that manifested pain and the next level consequential pain. So the consequence of that front piece not working is that somebody in a mid-level tier, somebody further up the chain, closer to the decision maker, has a consequence that's affecting their outputs, their objectives, what they're looking to achieve at their level. That connection has to be made first. The reason that's good for sales as well is you now have a very strong reason to connect with the next person up the food chain, getting closer to your decision maker. That person may be the ultimate decision maker depending on what you're selling, or they might just be somebody who's getting you closer to the top of the tree. So once we have a consequential pain, we're now helping that person become an advocate for the sales process to understand your problem that you're having, trying to solve your consequential pain is because people in your organization are struggling with their manifested pains. And that connection can be locked as a solid connection between those two levels. Beyond the consequential pain is the ultimate top of the tree. This is where we're shooting for, and typically this is the owner, operator, C-suite, budget owner, and the decision maker. At the top of the tree we have business goals. Business goals are typically things that sound strategic. Things like broadening the territory, growing the customer base, implementing new strategies, new product lines, and expanding, growing the business in ways that will help the future success of the business on a far more strategic level. If we can map consequential pains to these strategic business goals, we now have a line of sight to play this back to the account owners to say, you as the C-suite decision maker, you're looking to expand, you're looking to grow, move into China as the example we had earlier. The reason that's a problem for you, the challenge you're having, is that your sales numbers are not performing, and the reason your sales numbers are not performing is because this front-end manifested issues that your frontline staff are having. Suddenly those frontline manifested issues are vital and strategically important to the key decision maker. They find this super difficult. The consultative sales process of being able to understand what's happening in an account, mapping these levels, mapping the pains, rolling them up through one or many levels of consequential pain, right up to a business objective and business goal, means you can now help people understand their business in a way they've never done before. All the value a salesperson has is helping them understand their business through a lens that they may not be familiar with themselves. Again, remember your prospect is running their business, they're in an industry they're familiar with, they're running it to a way to try and grow their own business in their own way. They're not the matter expert that you are around the product, service, solution that you speak to dozens, if not hundreds of times throughout the day, week, month in your role. So the value you bring in helping them diagnose their account, understanding the various degrees and levels of pain, all the way up through these consequential and the business goals, and playing this back, helps them really for the first time to understand why some of those key top-line goals are not being achieved. And the key thing to remember here is that the front-line manifested pains, all of those smaller tactical operational problems that people are having in trying to get their job done that frustrates so many people so much of the time, it's those items that can be solved by products, solutions, services that you're providing. Drawing that map, helping people understand that the root cause of those big items is in fact these front-line tactical operational topics, and now bringing your solution and matching your solution back to some or all of those outstanding items on their agenda helps them understand that releasing and relieving those frontline manifested pains by extension, releases and relieves consequential pains, and this knock-on effect to achieving business goals and strategic goals is of huge amounts of interest to the key decision makers in the account. The other thing we know, and the reason we focus so much on the C-suite and top-line decision makers, is that those decision makers are the ones who will fast-track and accelerate deals. Sometimes this approach is thought to be a little labor-intensive, a little cumbersome, that do I need to map an account and understand the issues that are relevant and all the various components that go to make up this business goal being achieved or not achieved? The bottom line is, if you don't do that, the decision maker has no chance of connecting it themselves. They'll feel that the pitch coming from your frontline tactical person who's presenting this to their board or C-suite, there will be a disconnect. They will not be able to understand why I should solve this problem for somebody who's basically got a problem I think is their job. You should go and fix that yourself. So helping to make that connection is vital. The introduction of a C-suite or a business owner early into that conversation will fast track and accelerate that sales cycle that otherwise will be deferred and stalled as being a nice to have, something that isn't quite connected to the important priority items on the agenda of the people who hold the purse strings, that C-suite and decision maker, the all-important person who's buying that you need. So understanding this piece, having an awareness of it, mapping it out, explaining this to your prospect up front, all important components. This is not a mysterious science. This is not something you should keep to yourself and try and keep it as something magical. It's worth representing this up front, that my intent is help you understand the various levels of pain and issue in your account and the consequential knock-on of those components. Mapping this out and delivering it back, you will find as you deliver this to your accounts, they will be wowed. You'll probably have a couple of embarrassing moments where they'll look at each other and think, why did we not see this ourselves? How come we couldn't see the wood for the trees, knowing our business as well as we do? The answer, of course, is they're busy running their own business in their own way. You presenting back this map and helping people see their account for the first time in this new light will be amazing. You'll have the wow factor. One of the things sales professionals look for, one of the things that's vital for our success, is credibility, value add. We want our prospects to feel that we understand their account even better than they do themselves. And by doing this approach through the lens that's important, how you might review their account and play this back to them is immensely valuable for anybody who's trying to run their business and is unsure and frustrated why those frontline tactics are happening, and again what the connection might be to those overall business goals. The mapping of all these individuals, super important. Tracking the conversations, understanding the relationships, all of this is the mechanical, vital parts of how you map the account, how you understand relationships between the individuals who are influencers, who are positively or negatively influenced around this topic, and what role they play, who the evangelists are, who your champion is in the account. All of these things are components that go to make up understanding the account dynamics. All of which, obviously, as HubSpot will advocate, tracking and understanding this information is so important. Your account wants to feel that you know them very well on an individual level, within the dynamic of the people in the account, the politics and all the power that goes with accounts of various sizes. These are vital components. So tracking, understanding these, and having them to hand to be able to play this back is so important. As you go through the relationship with the account and as you start to provoke questions and thoughts and start to make connections for those people in the account based on your feedback and based on what you've been mapping, again, knowing how they're taking actions around this, being able to understand if they interact with your content, if they're visiting your site, if they're looking at various components of things you've sent through, be it mails, content, social, and so on. These are all very important components for any sales professional in the modern era to be able to bring those pieces back, and every next interaction should be preloaded. You should have a common understanding, each person where they are in their buyer journey, how they're thinking about this product or this topic, and what next steps might be relevant for positioning the next thing that that account will need for their buying process. Clearly the final part here is, assuming we've done our job well, we've brought people through the various steps and stages, that the buying process for an account can vary from very simple single decision maker to quite complex decision process and decision making group. Decision making group or individual, again, same rules apply. We need a closing plan, an implementation plan that's documented and shared. Too often we make assumption. The killer of most deals is we're assuming things will happen, we're assuming understanding is common, we're assuming that the timelines are shared. Again, avoiding these assumptions is sales 101. Having a documented plan, mapping out with individuals as to what needs to happen next, who will take which step by when, is vital. The way we position this, of course, is not to say I need you, the buyer, to do things on my agenda. It's me, the seller, to match your buying cycle, your buying process. You tell me how you'd like to buy so I can make sure myself and my colleagues' resources needed, we're all ready and able to supply those to you when you need them. So helping the buyer buy, it's core. From my side, having a common understanding, making sure it's shared and there's no misunderstandings, vital. Forecasting accuracy, deal control, no surprises, no assumptions, all of which are vital elements, especially in those accounts where there's more than one influencer, more than one decision maker, or there's interreliant steps from different parts of the business, be it legal, finance, sales operations, whoever that individual might be that's making decisions in the account around that buying process. So understanding those, if you get to the stage where you've mapped through all the components we've talked about, they'll feel that you understand their problem better than they have. You've helped them really figure out the challenges that they're facing, the connections between them. The people who feel the pain the most on the front end have been leveraged to understand the decision maker and some of the decision making buy-in that they'll need to relieve that pressure. And then the close plan, figuring out what needs to happen across which players, what role they play, what's the process, and what steps need to happen is vital. So that's the end of our account-based selling module today. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please enjoy the rest of the modules in the series, and we'll hope to speak to you again soon. Thank you.